Hi, my name is Tina, and this is a video about what I learned from Fred Jones' book, Tools for Teaching, and also from my classroom management professor, Ken Peterson, who taught me in 2004 at Portland State University. So, also it is things that I've learned from Ben Slavic, who, with the help of his PLC, developed these rules, and some of these rules I don't really use that much anymore, but I have been a little lazy and I haven't taken them away yet. So basically for classroom management, the first thing that I do is I speak really slowly, and so as I'm speaking, or I try to speak slowly, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't do so well, but as I'm speaking slowly, every time I take a pause, I just kind of look around and I see if any students are starting to wander or talk. And if they are, then I just quietly, calmly, and thinking to myself how happy I am that I have a good classroom management plan, and how happy I am that I have this opportunity to show these kids that I actually mean business. Before it gets really crazy, I think to I nip it in the bud. So I'm literally thinking to myself, like, I'm a good teacher, like I'm nipping this in the bud. This is a great opportunity. And I just kind of saunter over here, like literally like this slow. And I just kind of smile at them, and then by this point in the year, it's September 22nd, they know what I'm about to do, and they're all starting to shush each other. Even the ones that weren't talking are still getting shushed. It's cute. So I'll just be teaching, and then I'll notice that somebody's talking, and I'll just kind of take a deep, calming breath, and then I'll just quietly kind of look them in the eye and saunter over here like, you know what's about to happen. And I swear 9 times out of 10, it's this rule right here. One person talks and the others listen. Unless it's like a general outburst of English, like when things get really exciting, sometimes I'll just like explode with English. And so if it's that, then I'll do this, because like sometimes kids are like going off in English, and it's not just like, I don't know. It seems to be more like, this one I think more of like, this is a Spanish speaking or French speaking community. We need to keep it that way. That's kind of the message of this one. And this one's more like, quit talking over me, like quit having a side conversation. This one I would say is more like, you're so interested in what's going on, but you're taking it into English. This one's more like, you're not interested in what's going on, and you're having a side conversation. So I just saunter over here, and I just point to it like this, and I just sweep the room. Ben taught me this. I sweep the room with a smile on my face, and just kind of look at them like, yep. And then I just kind of look back at the people that were talking and just kind of give them a little nod. And then I just move right on like nothing happened. So this, plus, very personalized curriculum, such as, these awesome characters that they've been making. Those are our very first ones of the year. So the rules just being really consistent with applying them every single second, like every single time that anybody starts to infract the rules, like that is key. Having a really personalized curriculum is key, and going really slow and keeping it very safe, comprehensible is also key. So that's kind of like the net, like it's like my safety net. But then, sometimes there's a student who continues to push your buttons. And so in that case, I turn to some of these tools for teaching that Fred Jones describes in his amazing book that you should definitely get. Another book that I would highly recommend is called The First Days of School by Harry Wong. That's more about, that's more about like routines and setting up systems to make your classroom run smoothly. And Tools for Teaching is more about, well, there's a lot in there that like doesn't really have to do with comprehensible input-based teaching. For most of us, we don't teach this way that he would recommend, which is like teaching stepwise, different parts of the like procedure, like for a math problem or how to like parse a sentence in language arts or something like that. We don't generally do a lot of that. So the most of the things in Tools for Teaching that I find useful at this point in my career, now that I don't teach language arts and social studies anymore, is mostly the classroom management. And literally he talks about like tools that you can use, like ways to use your body and use your breath to keep yourself calm and assertive and have that calm, assertive energy. There's this book by this man named Cesar Millan, and it's called The Dog Whisperer. And in that book, Cesar talks about how he's a dog trainer, right? The dog whisperer is what they call him because he's so good with dogs. So in that book, he talks about how when you're working with a dog, you want to have this calm, assertive alpha energy because a dog otherwise feels like they don't have the leadership that they need in order to trust the leader. So that's the same way in the classroom. And this book, Tools for Teaching, tells you sort of these alpha strategies to use your body and your breath and have a calm presence that's a presence of leadership that kids can trust. So one thing that Fred Jones talks about is a lot like actually what Ben has modeled for years with these rules. But it's more like physical with the student. So that is the Queen Elizabeth stare. So that means if a kid is talking or not doing their work or doing something that you don't approve of, then you are like, let's say you're teaching this way and this kid is back over there. So I'm teaching this way and then I notice that this kid is doing this. So I take this is Fred Jones, take a deep calming breath, kind of look at the class like, oh my gosh, now I've got to deal with some discipline. And you turn slowly, and with what he calls the Queen Elizabeth stare, like, how dare you mess with the Queen. And you turn and you literally face your feet in the direction of the kid that is doing something wrong, and then you give them a withering look, like, and if they stop, then you resume instruction and blah, blah, blah. And if they don't stop, then you start walking towards them. So like they're not stopping, so you've turned your feet. Everybody knows that instruction has stopped. The teacher's body is now planted in the direction of this kid, and they're watching to see what happens. So they're seeing that you are unflappable. You are going to take a deep breath and not like let yourself get all crazy, you know, up in your fight or flight type of syndrome, just like, nope, this is gonna go my way. And just kind of repeating to yourself, like, this is fine, this is good, I'm getting a chance to exert my leadership. So it's like you notice that out of the corner of your eye, this kid over here is doing something like that you don't like, and so you, before you even turn, take a deep breath, and as you're turning, you're just like, oh gosh, sorry kids. Plant your feet, take another breath, and give the kid like a withering look. Sometimes they'll stop, and if they don't, you just kind of quiet or, you know, calmly and slowly just kind of walk over towards them. And you just kind of like literally stare them down. Now, Fred Jones says that you should get down in front of them like this on their desk and look at them, like this is if they're doing seat work. Look at them, look at their work. He calls it camping out. Look at them, look at their work. Don't talk, just look at them. Speaking of not talking, in his book, there is this illustration of this teacher, and the teacher is like, this is a very crude illustration. So the teacher is talking, and they're angry, and their words come out, and they like turn into a knife that's like heading toward the teacher's neck. And it says, open your mouth, slit your throat. And the point there is that, like, once you start talking to a student, you open your mouth, you're going to end up slitting your own throat as far as classroom management goes because you're giving them a chance to do some back talk. So, for instance, this kid who's not doing their seat work, I mean, I do give them seat work sometimes. Well, it's more like clipboard work, but whatever. So you would get down like this, and instead of saying, like, hey, I need you to get to work on your paper, because then they're going to come up with, like, some of them, you're going to come up with a million excuses for why they can't work on their paper. You just, like, look at them, look at the paper, look at them, look at the paper, and just kind of hang out there like you have all day to wait for them to get started on their paper. And that way you're not, like, arguing with them. You're not talking with them. They're not getting a chance to, like, talk back to you or tell you that, you know, I was just thinking about question 1. That's why I've been sitting here for 5 minutes. You're not giving them any opportunities to talk back. So, let's say you have a student who, like, after that interaction or after, you know, doing this a lot and, like, having to kind of look back at them and you're noticing, like, they're a problem, they're not getting the message or they're trying to test you, either way, then you got to, like, ramp it up. Now, this I learned from my teacher, Ken Peterson. So what you would do is you would like go over to the kid, let's say this is their chair right here. So that you would go over to their chair, and so it's kind of the same procedure like you're teaching. You notice that, you know, she's doing it again or he's doing it again. You take a deep breath. You look at the rest of the class like, I'm sorry guys, but I'm about to discipline this kid. You put your feet in their direction. But this time you know you're about to go have a conversation. So you walk over slowly and deliberately, thinking to yourself what a great opportunity this is going to be. And you get down beside them. Whether they have a desk or a chair or whatever, you get down beside them. And Ken taught me this because he said that it really sends a kid a message. Like, you're not going to stand above them like this and be in that aggressive posture. You're going to be almost in like a collegial posture. Like, I wouldn't be way down here like this though. I'd be like this, right? I usually get down like this. It looks a little more like, this looks a little submissive to me. But I'm just going to do that because it's more comfortable for me right now to talk to you. So you're down here talking to the kid, and this is what I say to them. I learned this from Ken, and it works really well for me. And this is after the kid has not responded to these other types of interventions, the Queen Elizabeth stare and this waiting at the rules, okay? So I get down and I say, this happened yesterday and it's happening again today. Or I might say, this is happening now and it happened yesterday. You notice I didn't name the behavior, I just said this. I just realized you couldn't see me. So I would get down like this by the kid, and I would be talking to them like this. Now, I'm not very comfortable doing that for a long period of time, so I'm just going to do this. But this is too submissive. I would be up a little more athletic looking with the kid. So I'm going to tell them, this happened today, and it happened yesterday. And you notice I didn't name the behavior, I just said this. That is less words I say, the fewer words I say, the better. This is happening today. It happened yesterday. And if it happens again, you and I are going to have a longer conversation, and you're not going to be smiling at the end. And then you have to like force yourself to smile, and weirdly enough, like generally, 88% of the time, the kid's going to smile back at you. And then this is like the nuclear option if you feel like you have a good relationship with the kid, or you can take it. You go, now who's your favorite teacher? Now when you do that, there's like 3 options that could happen. They could say, you. That happens most of the time. It's really freaky. So they might say you, and then you give them like a fist bump and say like, you know, you're not so bad yourself, or something like that. Or they might say, well, not you. And then you're like, well, can't win them all, and smile at them. Or they might say another teacher, and then you're like, yeah, they're awesome. I love them too. So that is kind of for like that next level of kid. Now, if that kid continues to do that in the future, I've promised them that we're going to have a longer talk. So I've got to like make good on my longer talk, and in that case, I will have to like take them out to the hall to have the said talk. Now, I send them out in the hall during class, and then I let them stay out there for a few minutes because I don't want to be like, you know, interrupting my class. So I would probably tell the class to do something else because I know that, you know, the kid's out in the hall and I'm going to need to get to them. So what I do out in the hall with them is I stand on the wall. Wherever they're standing, I like stand on the wall, like right beside them. I don't get in their face and confront them because I never want to have that aggressive in your face posture with a kid. I want to be like, we're in this together, I'm with you, like let's solve this problem. So I stand beside them like this and like stare out into space, and I don't look them in the eye because when people are like ashamed or embarrassed, like eye contact is really uncomfortable. So this helps kind of diffuse the situation. So I'm standing beside them and I say this to them. Why are you out here? And sometimes they like don't answer. They're like, I don't know. And then you just keep asking the same question or like putting it in different ways. Well, what were you doing when you got sent out here? What was it that caused you to get sent out here? Why are you here? So like I make them name the behavior. Now if they like refuse or they like take this to the next level, like at this point I'm gonna feel comfortable like calling the office and telling them, I have a kid on my hands that, you know, needs to cool down and have some counseling and maybe have some other adults and have like a, you know, team meeting or something. Most your average garden variety infractors are going to just eventually say, after a few prompts or probably the very first time, what they did. And then I ask them these questions. How is that a problem for the class? And I prompt them again if they can't say it the first time, like I keep making them, you know, I make them talk. But remember, I'm not trying to open my mouth too much because I don't want to slit my own throat. So I'm like, well, how's this a problem for your class? And I just listen. So how's this a problem for me, you think? Just listen. And how is this going to be a problem for you if it doesn't stop? And then usually the kid will like name the thing that they don't want to happen. They'll be like, you'll call my parents, or you'll send me to the office, or you'll keep me after school. And you're like, that's a good idea. That's what I'll do. Now when you're ready to rejoin the class, come on back in. So then I go back in first and I let them come in when they're ready. Some of them will stay out there all period long because they want to save face, and others will come on right on back in like with me. But I don't want to like escort them back in like if they're, you know, not wanting to be like shamed in front of their peers. Like I'm at this point not trying to make it worse, I want to make it better. I want to like preserve our relationship. Now if like it continues to happen, whatever it is, it continues to happen, then at this point I've really done a lot of interventions, and at this level it's going to be time to do like an office referral or get a counseling referral, or, you know, reach out to the parents, or do the thing that the kids said they didn't want me to do. So I hope this helped. I hope this is what you wanted to see, Ben, because this is about all I have to offer at this point, because I got to get ready for my afternoon classes. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.